Montenegro and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia since last year. The Council has asked the Commission for an opinion on accession candidacy status for Serbia, and the Commission has already returned a positive opinion on Montenegrin candidacy status. And of course, Croatia has nearly completed negotiations on the accession chapters. Many member states have also developed initiatives in the same direction. We have heard specific target dates like, for instance, 2020. Austria, Slovenia, Italy, Spain and other countries, other EU member states, other EU partners put their political weight behind the effort. And I welcome these initiatives and we are working closely together. And our goal now is to flesh things out, to streamline all of these ideas and make of them something that is useful, first and foremost, to the citizens of the Balkans. Something that makes them feel they are part of the European family. Something that will empower them to support the reforms and demand faster change. Greece will hold again the EU presidency in 2014. Our goal is to convene an EU Western Balkans summit meeting, Thessaloniki 2, if you want, where we can adopt a political declaration that sets a specific, ambitious and yet realistic target for completing the accession process of Western Balkan countries. A declaration that will include all of the necessary steps of progress. A declaration that will guide these countries' efforts, casting specific member states as mentors, if you like, who will stand by the candidates every step of the way. I can see, for instance, the creation of joint working groups of candidate and member states, posting of member state public administrators to candidate countries, provision of know-how, training seminars, ongoing assessment and preparation of candidates, close cooperation with the Commission, which will have to increase its role within candidate countries. We can't wait for things to happen by themselves. We must be active by ourselves. We have to play aggressively in the positive way of sense and give this process life so that people can finally see results. So we are setting 3 basic goals for Thessaloniki 2, this summit meeting that we are planning to hold during our 2014 EU presidency. First, the creation of a Group 2014 which will consist of member states who will form preparation alliances with candidate countries and participate actively in the process, for they too will be assessed on the effectiveness of the assistance they provide to candidate countries. Second, the development of close ties of cooperation amongst candidate countries on a regional level, strengthening existing cooperation platforms and putting greater emphasis on interaction between these platforms. We should not let the cooperation that has already accrued through the Southeastern European cooperation process, for instance, go to waste. And we also need to capitalize on sectoral cooperation networks like the Energy Community of Southeast Europe. Third, agreement on a date. A date that will be our target for full accession of those countries. This will be the new catalyst for change and progress. It will be the incentive for real reforms and a basis for assessing governments in the region. It will be a vital commitment from Europe saying that the Western Balkans are part of the family and that Europe will never again let the crimes of the past be repeated. I won't go into a country-by-country discussion for 2 reasons right now. First, because our approach is regional, and secondly, I want to respect the time we have at our disposal, but I will be very happy to discuss this with you during the Q&A session that will hopefully follow after my intervention. I now can move on the second region of interest in today's presentation, in my today's presentation, and this is Turkey. I won't start by setting out Turkey's special characteristics, how large, how Muslim, how different it is compared to the rest of Europe, nor will I talk about the familiar reactions attributable to this differentness. It is my conviction that each member state and each candidate country is different, is unique, and this uniqueness can be a source of strength instead of triggering reflexes of fear and apprehension. What I would like to focus on is sincerity. This is needed. The first step in dealing with the problem is acknowledging that it really exists. But instead of acknowledging the problem we have with Turkey as a candidate, we are playing, and I will be rather provocative in what I'm saying, we are playing a theatrical farce, if you want, entitled Turkey's accession process. The fact is, the dithering of certain member states, dithering that both derives from and perpetuates the public's phobias, has not only blurred the vision, but also cut off the oxygen supply to the process. At the same time, the delays and shortfalls in Turkey's reform process are also stifling the accession process. Finally, Turkey's refusal to meet its obligation towards the Republic of Cyprus and the EU27 has dramatically shortened the process's projected lifespan. We are talking about the most gravely ill patient in the enlargement process, and there is precious but little hope of recovery. History, and specifically the run-up to 1999, has taught us that we need vision and courage to make the leap, to keep the process alive. And as it did then, Greece, I'm convinced, can today play the role of catalyst again, ending the farce, as I called it, so that this ailing process can again become a living political process. Given that Prime Minister Erdogan has set Turkish elections for early June next year, I could think of the idea of holding an EU-Turkey summit meeting maybe in late June or early autumn of next year. The Hungarian presidency or the Polish presidency, this could be a real tempting thing for them to do. And in the next days, I will be in Budapest, having meetings and talks with my Hungarian counterpart, and I will put this idea for discussion to the upcoming presidency of Hungary. The purpose of such a meeting, an EU-Turkey summit meeting, will be, or would be, to adopt a political declaration that sets out a new roadmap, if you like, for Turkish accession. A new Helsinki, as we could call it, with clearly defined timeframes and target dates, designating precisely what Turkey's obligations are and the pace at which they must be met. And a specific date for Turkey's accession to the European Union, assuming, of course, the relevant ratifications are forthcoming from the member states and Turkey. In June of 2011, we will be talking to the Turkish government with a fresh popular mandate, a government capable of and with every interest in exchanging guarantees for a substantial relationship with the European Union. And I hope it will be a government that chooses courageous reforms over swaggering rhetoric, that will stop mooning over its own reflection and realize that the EU's rules apply to everyone and will not be bent for any candidate, however important that candidate thinks it is. But the success of such an initiative depends on our having a frank discussion. I do not question the qualms some member states have. What I am asking is that they not be allowed to prefigure the result or move the goalpost in mid-game. The rule we must abide by says that the road to full accession must remain open. This is the product of a unanimous. 2 years down the road, it won't be about today's Turkey. It will be about a European Turkey that respects international law and honors the principle of good neighborly relations, a Turkey that protects the religious freedom of all its citizens and respects the rights of all the minorities living within its borders. The Turkish government elected in June will have to make clear exactly what it wants. For the time being, the accession process is being used as a tool rather than being an end in itself. And I think that in both Europe and Turkey, there is a tendency to forget how powerful a force for reform Turkish European perspective has been. It put an end to outdated resistance from the old guard and allowed for the emergence of new political forces that would not have found expression in the past. The more alive the European process is, I am convinced, the more democratic Turkey becomes. Let me close with a few words on the Cyprus issue, and I'm ready, of course, to continue the discussion within the Q&A session, also on this issue. I said we need to be sincere if we are to break the vicious cycle, even if this sincerity precipitates a falling out. And I believe that sometimes a crisis can be an opportunity for inducing changes that resolve a deadlock. Today's farce, as I called it, has to stop. If Turkey really wants to move ahead, it needs to meet all its obligations. In the final analysis, we are talking about relations with a country, a reunified Cyprus, that will be a partner. That will be a partner tomorrow, because it is obvious that as long as there are occupation troops on the island, Turkey simply cannot become a full member of the European Union. So I think that if the protocol issue and the matter of Turkey's other obligations have not been resolved by June, for instance, Turkey really runs danger that the accession process will be freezed until these situations are resolved. That is simply how it is. This is reality. So there is no point in anyone hiding behind the Cyprus issue, because it could not be clearer that the big winner from Turkey's accession to the European Union will be the Republic of Cyprus and its people, who will at long last enjoy the benefits of participation in the greatest peace project in history, the European Union. Let me end by saying that the success of the enlargement process depends directly also on the internal deepening of the European Union. Let me come back on what I mentioned in the beginning of my intervention, the crisis, the financial crisis that we have to face as European Union. But we cannot allow this crisis to lead to further introversion within the European Union. It is urgent to find the appropriate solution to the current economic difficulties and endow the European Union with the appropriate means and mechanisms. The stability of the euro is imperative. A permanent mechanism in this direction must be created and also enshrined in the treaty, and the principle of solidarity must guide our action both internally and with our neighbors. So once again, thank you very much for your attention and also your time at an early Monday morning, and I'm of course at your disposal for discussing further the issues I have here mentioned. Thank you very much.